Hello, everyone. Welcome to, what is this? LLK number 66. That is live with Laura and Lola. I'm sorry we were just a few minutes late getting started. I gave Max a tech idea like 5 minutes before live time and he scrambled and made it happen. So I'll be able to control the Knit for Food website from my seat right here, which is pretty cool. So, for those of you who have never watched a live, welcome. And for those of you who have watched one of my lives before, welcome back. Those of you who are watching live, I can see you right now in the chatter thread, chatting away. Everybody's been saying where they're from and what their weather is. It seems like a lot of people are experiencing what I would like to call either, I'm going to call it first spring right now because we all know that it's not even March yet and we are not having spring. We are just having fake spring or first spring. There's still going to be some winters coming. Remember one year I ended up naming a hat third winter because it just kind of like kept being winter one more time. We've had an incredible run of great snow up here in upstate New York, and I've been really enjoying cross-country skiing and getting outside. And now our front yard is basically has this huge like icy pond in it. And I was like, well, I always wanted waterfront property. Yay, spring thaw, but like the ground's still all frozen, so there's nowhere for all of that water to go. So welcome. I love seeing all of you in the chat saying hello. A few things about my lives, especially if you've never watched one before, is I am about to talk about a lot. It is going to be highly amusing. I am Laura Nelkin. I think I never even said who I was. I'm like off and running today. So my name's Laura Nelkin. I'm a knitwear designer. I live in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes, and I am joined by my alter ego, Lola. Laura tries to keep her stuff together. She's pretty organized, lots going on, lots of notes. Lola, my alter ego, is a little spicy. She derails me all the time. She already did it once on this live. So the two of us will be chatting with you for, I'd say, about an hour. If you are watching while I am live, there are lots of things I'm going to talk about, but you won't have the links to them till after this live is over. When the live is over, I will give you links to everything below this video. So if you come back like 10 or 15 minutes after it's over, you'll find links to everything. If you ask questions in the chat while I am chatting, I do not have a very good eye on the chat. In fact, tonight I'm not wearing my glasses. So to read the chat, I have to get real smart looking and put on my reading glasses and go over like that. So most likely I won't be doing that very much. I'll just be going for it. At the very end of the live, I will ask if there's any questions. And at that point, I'll look over in the chat. My buddy Susie is moderating over in the chat. Thank you so much, Susie. So if she knows the answer to a question, she might put it in there, but it's likely that she'll say, come back later. It'll be in the show notes. So without further ado, that's just kind of like our little business keeping for getting everybody kind of on the same page. Let's jump right in. And for the first time in a live, this is kind of funny. I have a corrections corner. I've never had a corrections corner before where I just did something like so wrong in the last live and I need to correct it. So corrections corner. In the last live, I spent a good 5 minutes talking about the word schmeg, which I said was Yiddish for like lint or dust or like a little something. And in my world, that is what schmeg means. A few of you in the chat tried to tell me that maybe that's not what schmeg meant, and maybe I meant a different Yiddish word. And I was like, nope, that's what that means. And I just gaslighted all of you into believing that's what schmeg meant. But then I messaged my mom when we were done with the live, and she was like, oh, honey, you did not mean schmeg. You meant schmutz, which I just kept calling it like a schmuck. Then I was like calling it a schmuck for a while, but like, I mean, schmutz is like lint or something. Schmeg is more like a bodily discharge, to say it nicely. So like that is just Lola on fire for you. Max and I realized that in fact we met I don't know, when I was like 21 and he was 23. We've been calling Schmutz Schmeg for quite a while, so you might think we're both schmutzes at this point. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, clearly there needs to be a pattern that's like schmutz, schmeg, schmug. I don't even know. Okay, I lost it there, but there you go. There's your first corrections corner. May they always be as good as this first corrections corner, right? No one's ever going to make that mistake again. Um, Things to talk about. So much. Things are on my needles, things are off my needles, things have come in from model knitters. I've got a test to tell you about. I think I have another buble on my needles, and I thought I'd show you how to knit backwards when you're doing a bobble. So I've got a tiny bit of knitting to show you. I have something I'm working on for the cruise that I decided to give you a little sneak peek on early because it's too cute to keep a secret for very long. We're going to talk about knit for food. Of course, we're going to talk about knit for food. And then towards the end, I'll talk about some travel stuff. I have just a very few pictures from my trip to Curacao with my family, and then just kind of what I've been reading and eating and watching. There has not been any sewing lately, so unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to fill you in on that. Um, and then at the end of the live, I will announce the winner from last week's live, and then I will tell you what the prompt is for the giveaway for this month's live, and then I'll tell you when the next live is going to be. So that is everything in a nutshell. Let's get going and start by saying that the first quarter knit along, which is looking a little different this year, is going very well. And what I did, oh, and the other thing I'm going to do is give you results from the survey that we sent out to the newsletter. So that's in there as well. The first quarter knit along looked a little different this year than it ever has before because it's taking place both in my Facebook group and in my Ravelry group because both places have been really active, and I didn't really want to be like ignoring one to be in the other. I wanted everybody to be able to participate wherever they hang out the most. So the first quarter knit along prizes have been alternating on Mondays between the Ravelry group and the Facebook group. Lots of people have been double dipping, which is really fun to see, trying to get prizes in both places. So January's prizes were mugs. February's prizes was yarn from my stash, and those prizes are going out on Friday. And then March's prizes are going to be things that I purchase when I'm in South America on a cruise, and I leave on Monday for 2 weeks for a cruise. So I love buying you all treats when I travel, and I think it'll be a fun way to share my travels, to be like, hey, I just bought a prize, and show you what the prize is. And I'll buy 4 prizes plus a grand prize, and those will be the prizes for March, and then the final grand prize for the first quarter knit along. So if you haven't jump in anytime. All you have to do is be knitting one of my designs to join us. And I think it's going to be very fun. We're going to Hohi & Co. in Buenos Aires. We are going to the Yarn District. We're going to Merino Farm, a penguin and merino sheep farm in the Falkland Islands. So maybe I'll bring home a penguin for somebody. You never know. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you about is that March is my birthday month. You probably know that if you've hung out with me for a little while. And I'm going to do something different this month where every day I'm going to highlight one of my patterns and make it 50% off for the day. So that's going to start on March 1st, and it's going to go through my birthday on March 26th. So while I'm traveling, I'll be touching base at least once a day to like put one of those patterns up, set up the promotion code. So if you keep an eye on my Instagram or Facebook, that would be where to find out what the pattern of the day is. It's this exact same model that I've done with cowls for Cowltober, but I'm able to like look at my 300 patterns that I've released and choose ones for that. So that would be pretty fun. I am wearing a Knit for Food hoodie. I see some of you are talking about it over in the chatter thread. We have merch for Knit for Food that is linked on the Knit for Food page, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to Knit for Food. It's so comfy to wear a hoodie. I don't wear them as often as I should. They're so comfortable. So to talk about what is off my needles, I've got one thing that's like almost off my needles, and I'm so excited about it. I just want to show it to you first because he's staring at me, and I can't get I can't get over it. So this is a penguin design from Sarah Shira, who's Imagined Landscapes. Think I said her last name's right. And his name is Ice to Meet You. And he is almost done. Last night I stuffed him. So he was kind of like a mere shadow of himself. He had his hat on and he had his little beak, but he didn't have any stuffing. And I got really into stuffing him, and I probably put a few too many lentils inside him. This is going to be one of the projects that everybody is going to do on the cruise together. So they're going to get all the yarn to do this and the pattern as just like a fun little thing to do. I've not done a lot of toy knitting, so I wanted to make sure I had made mine first, because I have a few ideas of like where they could use Lola's two timing technique and a few other little tricks for like doing jogless knitting in the round for the stripes on the hat. Just like a few little things that I like to do that kind of, it's like a teaching tool for me, but also really fun and a really fun memory of the trip. And then last night after I got him stuffed, I got I stayed up a little too late because I was having so much fun, and I made his little feet, and I'll show them to you under the camera because they're so cute. Let's see if you can see that. I can probably zoom it in even a little bit more. I'm not sure. Yeah, there we go. That's zooming in a little more. So you can see that's his little foot, and it's going to go right there. He's so chunky. I'm not sure. Might be like his big belly might be hiding his feet right there. Isn't he cute? I mean, anybody could make one of these. I think Leading Men Fiber Arts might have kits for making these. We made some kits with yarn that we had in the studio, and then I got it. It's all Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper. And then all I have left to do is make his flippers. And those are like 32 rounds each. So that's gonna maybe be tonight before bed. I'll make his flippers and then I'll finish assembling him. But super fun and super cute. And then the last thing that he's going to get, you could probably see right here, is a little loose where I did the increases, which I don't totally love on him. And he is going to get a little extra something special that is a design that I did for the cruise. And I'm going to make him a little teeny tiny one. So everybody will see that on the cruise. I don't want to spoil that little surprise before it is out in the world to my cruisers. But I've been having I've not done a lot of toy knitting. It's futzy, but I mean, a lot of my designs are a little futzy, right? There's like a lot of details. There's a lot of reading of the pattern. It was very fun to watch him kind of come together with his big lentil belly last night. I really enjoyed that. So he doesn't have a name yet. I'm sure he'll have one by the end of the cruise. It'll probably be the cruise director's name, like last cruise with our scary baby. I see somebody's guessing what he's going to get on him or she. Equal opportunity over here. The other thing that is off my needles that I'm not going to show you is March's Lola's Choice kit. I can show you just a little sneak peek of what is coming. So you can't really see anything from this, but Lola's Choice, if you don't know, is my small knitted kit club. I ship kits every other month, and because I'm leaving on Monday, those kits are shipping tomorrow. We have been busy building them in the studio. We're ready to put labels on in the morning, and that pattern will either go up Friday afternoon or it will go up Saturday, maybe morning or afternoon. That's going to depend a little bit on when they start to land and if I'm at home or not or out. I have a kind of busy weekend. So I'm excited for that pattern to land. I really wanted to kind of get them out and get people knitting it a little bit before I took off and was down, not down under, but down south. And I'm very excited for you to knit it. It's a really good quickie. And then the last thing I'm going to say about that is if you aren't a member of Lola's Choice and you've been thinking about being a member, I am going to shut off signups for March's kit, whether or not I've sold out of them, probably on Sunday. I do have about like 20-ish extra kits. I did get a bunch of signups from people today, so I'm not quite sure how many are totally left. But once those sell out, I'm just going to roll to signups for May's kit. And this kit is so good decided that eventually it will get released as its own kit. So the few that I end up with left will just roll to that. And that's just so people aren't signing up and thinking they're going to get it, and then I'm gone for 2 weeks and they can't get it. So I don't want anybody to be frustrated. And I hate that feeling of like knowing I have something hanging over my head that I haven't done. So that's that gig with that. Another thing that is off my needles is a pair of Larch Peds. And if you remember Larch Peds were March of last year's Lola's Choice kit. And I do about like one pair of socks a year for Lola's Choice. This year I already did Farola. And while I was on vacation, I knit a pair of toe-up Larch Peds. So the original Larch Peds were knit from the top down, where you start with the cuff lining and then you work the outside of the cuff and you work down with like a traditional heel flap. These guys are worked cast on at the toe. They've got that optional awesome arch shaping. They've got increasing for the gusset, and then a nice little heel turn and a heel flap. And then the cuff is worked opposite, where you work the outside first and then you work the inside. And we use my Lola's 2-timing technique in these. So they are off with my tech editor right now. I'm going to show them to you a little more closely so you can see what they look like. You can see what it's looking like on the inside. And once I get that pattern back from tech editing, there will be a testing call up in the Ravelry group for them. The yarn that I used for this pair is it's called Vegan Sock from LaRue Hand Paints, and it is a merino 10-cell like lycra or elastic yarn, and it's very interesting because it's very cottony. It's like a little bit like rough and grabby. It took a little bit longer to knit, especially I was on a boat one day and I was trying to knit them and the yarn got just like all a little wet and salty, and it was like dragging on my needles. So I had to decide. It's Larch, Larch Peds. Sorry, I saw that over there in the comments. So this yarn, I kind of waiting to be seen. I'm gonna bring this pair of Peds with me on the trip because it's a new to me sock yarn. I've not knit with a cotton 10-cell sock yarn, and I kind of want to see how they're going to wear. They're a little thicker than I typically like my socks because the yarn itself is a little heftier. The way that I wrote the pattern, I wrote them at the same gauge, so you can use any traditional fingering weight sock yarn that you want to for knitting these. They're just toe up instead of top down, which I know some of us really love. And laws, I love a good athletic shorty hand knit sock. I've worn my Larch Peds more than any other hand knit sock I've ever knit before. So I'm happy to be adding these to my patterns, and I bet it'll be out in April. I don't think it'll be out by March. It depends. You never know. So that is something else off my needles. I got some good vacation knitting done. The other thing that is off of my needles is a test knit that's coming up that I kind of teased about a little bit today. Y'all in the chat, everything I'm talking about, I'll give you links to below. So if you're wondering about that yarn, I'll give you a link to it. Don't worry. I designed a shrug a bunch of years ago for Knit Ithaca called Lake Hug that did not work out when we graded it up to larger sizes. And it was kind of like, I know I've talked about it in lives before because it's the design that got away from me. It's the design that I wear a lot and fits me well, but it didn't do well in larger sizes. And I knew it was going to be very hard to support people in knitting it. And I was very worried they weren't going to be happy with the fit. And so I ended up kind of deciding not to do it. But I knew that I loved the center motif of Lake Hug so much and that I wanted to turn it into something. And then when Patty Lyons asked me to teach at her retreat at the end of April called Affinity, that retreat is happening on a lake, and Green Mountain Spinnery, who makes the yarn Cotton Comfort, which I knit the original lake hug in, was going to be there, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can do something else that uses lake hug, uses this yarn, which I really, really adore. It's absolutely yummy. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it in a second. So I ended up doing a new version of Lake Hug. This is that little photo that I kind of teased you with. This is me trying to get it on. We did a photo shoot out at a frozen lake in Cayuta, New York, which is like 20-ish minutes away from me. And I was wearing like a bodysuit and my jeans and some boots, and it was so freaking cold out, and it took me like 5 hours to get warm that day after this shoot, but the photos are gorgeous. So this is me trying to get it on, and then this is me having it half on. And from this photo, you can see that what it is a giant sweater scarf. So it starts from the center out and it works out into two very long sleeves that wrap around you and make a yummy, yummy lake hug. I know some of you, I'm seeing people in the chat who are talking about like, oh, I worked on that test knit. I want to knit this so bad. So as soon as we're done with this live, I will go over. I have the test all ready to go. Just enter yourself in the test in the Ravelry group. I'll give that link below here. So wait till we're done if you want to join. I'm probably only going to end up having 10 testers, 2 for each size. So don't be disappointed if you don't get chosen for this test. You will get chosen for a future test. And thank you so much. And I can see people are excited in the chat, and it's a project that I knit, and my sample knitter Marguerite, who's totally amazing, knit it with me. She can hit my gauge exactly. So I knit a bunch of it, and I got the center right, and I got the like going out into the arms right. And then I sent it off to her, and she finished the sleeves and the ribbing, which was great. And then I was working on like the grading and pattern and getting that off to tech. So it's kind of like a labor of love. 2 of us work together. It's not always worth my time to knit 20 inches of stockinette stitch when I know I can be doing something else and kind of like designing the next thing. So working together with Marguerite has been really great to kind of keep things moving forward at a pace. And I think that's part of transparency as a designer. Like, you all might think that I can get everything done and I can knit more than any human ever could knit. I have some extra hands sometimes helping me, which I really appreciate, and I pay for those hands. That's also very important to me. So this Cotton Comfort, if you've never knit with it before, it is milled in New Hampshire. All the fibers are grown in the US, and it's 20% organic cotton and 80%, I might need my reading glasses on, 80% fine wool. And it is a DK weight yarn. It's a 2-ply. It's about 180 yards on a skein. So the smallest size of the lake hook took just under 6 skeins. So I'm calling for 7 skeins just to be safe. So it is a fair amount of knitting, lake hug. I think it's important to say that from the get-go. So it's not a pair of socks or like a necklace or something. It's a little bit more time. I do sleep. I sleep 6 to 8 hours a night. I love to sleep. I saw that. I know I'm not supposed to read the chat, but I do sometimes. So that is Lake Hug. I'm thrilled you're thrilled about it. 3 more things on my table that I'm knitting. One is, one more finished thing, I guess, and then we'll go on to the things that are on my needles. Marguerite helped me knit another Caltopus in new kits from 4 Pearls. So this Caltopus is going to come with me on the cruise. I don't have any photos of it yet. This colorway is called Oh My Gourd, which I totally love. Really fun. I do have affiliate links for the kits from 4 Pearls, and that is linked on the Caltopus page on Ravelry. I'll also give you that link below afterwards. I need to stop saying that, moving on from that. But it's really fun. I love the colors from 4 Pearls, and you all know that the original kits for Caltopus came from Fiber MacGyver, and Susie is just slammed with work and has not had time to make more kits. Those kits are really labor intensive. So when she does get to make more more kits, I promise to tell you when they are up on her site. So she said she's going to work on it at some point. I'm just not quite sure when. So that is my new Caltopus, which I am happy to have. The yarn weight on Lake Hug is DK weight. Again, that'll all be below, I promise. I'm being bad at reading the chat tonight, and I said I wouldn't. A final thing that's finished is I actually finished this hat last year, right before Knit for Food. Some of you might remember it. And I've been getting some requests to release it because other people want to make a Knit for Food hat. And this one is fun. This one's like in 2 colors of Malabrigo that I got at my local yarn store. I tried to choose the Knit for Food colors, which are teal and orange. And I'm knitting another version of the hat with a bigger brim because I actually like a folded up brim on me more than I like a flat brim. It's just like my preferred hat shape on me. I think it's more flattering on my head. And this one is a Kelborn Woolens. I'm forgetting the name of it right now. I've knit with it so many times and that's embarrassing. And then the orange is actually from Kama Rose. And they're both Aran weight yarns. This is all Aran weight yarn. And I am basically done with the color work on this and I'm getting ready to transition to this top part. And then let me show it to you under the camera. I'm going so fast. You can see it's just got like a little snowflake. That's adorable. But then I was the other day like, why did I not do carrots and tomatoes? Like, come on. It's not Scout. It's the Tweedy one that is made in Ireland. So if somebody in the chat can look that up, we'll find out what that is for you. I try. I don't remember everything. The label's not in the ball. Right? Shouldn't this be carrots and tomatoes right here, not snowflakes? So I'm kind of working on a chart and we'll see if I have time to do it. I'm really hoping that I do. And then veggies would be great. I was chatting with my friends the other night, Julie Beth and Andrea, trying to find a quick chart. It is like a 12 stitch wide by 12 stitch high if I kind of want to stay with the color work repeat that I already have. This is based on a hat of mine called Proto Lola that I released a few years ago. And I'm trying to just use that hat so that I can like quickly get this out in the world. If all goes according to plan, when I get home from the cruise, I think it would be fun to gift it to everybody who signed up to do Knit for Food. Like if you signed up to fundraise, you get a hat pattern, and there's still plenty of time to make it by April 5th. The pattern's all tested and done, so that part is easy peasy. We'll see. I have lots of ideas, and I might not need to sleep to get that one done. We'll see. I see people trying to give ideas there. I looked at doodle charts for vegetables and I didn't see any really obvious ones. I did find a cool carrot that I loved on Pinterest and I've been working on that. I did see one pair of socks I loved where the carrot bottom was in one color and then the carrot top was in another color, and I could see that working really well in the hat, but I also want to make sure it's unique to me. So a little bit of work to do. And yes, this is Lucky Tweed from Kelborn Woolens. Thank you, Andrea, for being there in the chat for me. It takes a village to do these lives. That's what I say. On my needles, besides the hat, the Knit for Food hat I'm working on, is a buble in Knit for Food colors. So if you remember buble, that was November Lola's Choice pattern. I have knit 2 or 3 of these bubles already. I love wearing them. I've been wearing them a ton this winter, and I decided it would be really nice to have a little buble to wear for Knit for Food. And in the last live, I showed you a sock blank that I got from Susie at Fiber MacGyver that was like the exact colors of Knit for Food. It was orange on one end and teal on the other end. So I started with the orange end on a buble, and I'm just gonna go to my overhead camera right here to show you how I like to work baubles, because Max and I released a video on working baubles and I'm pretty happy with how that bauble looks, but I totally forgot to show you that you could knit backward for making baubles. And I just want to show you how to do that quickly. And so if I make sure that I get to the right spot for this bauble, I'm just going to work this bauble right here. I don't actually think it's the right spot. I think I have 2 more plain rows here. I'm going to knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1. And then instead of turning my work, I am going to knit backwards. So I'm just going to go into that first stitch on the right hand needle, wrap my yarn around and pull it through, go into the second stitch, wrap my yarn. Has anybody tried to knit backwards before? It's really helpful, especially when your work gets bigger when you are working buble. And I can't believe that I never showed this. I should do a little Instagram reel as well showing that. So then I'm on the right side and now I need to do one more wrong side row. So I'm just knitting 5 again backwards. I knit backwards considerably more slowly than I knit forwards, but still I think it's faster than turning your work and purling and turning your work again. And then it is time to close up the top of that bauble right there, but I think that's much faster. Love knitting backwards. So there's just a little extra trip for you. I always try to like show just one little knitting something and alive, just to keep you thinking new things, new things you could do with your knitting. So for some of you, I hope that's new. Others of you, I'm sure, have been knitting backwards forever and could teach me a thing or two. I am sure. Yeah, Susie, I think I'll make a reel tomorrow or later tonight or something and then get that up on Instagram and Facebook. Yay, that was a new surprise move for a few of you, it looks like. What else is on my needles? Oh, the N Club project. So the N Club project kits are going to ship at the end of March, and that pattern will be released like mid-ish April. I don't have exact dates yet. So if you are a member of the N Club, that kit is sold out for this year. That is the schedule for your kits, and that's sticking pretty close to what is up online. So we're good to go with that one. But I'm about to show you something from vacation that when we get to the vacation pictures, you'll see a photo that very much inspired that N Club design. So that is pretty fun. Let's talk about the survey. So if you got my newsletter or followed me on Facebook, you saw that I sent out a survey. For the last few years, I've been sending out a survey just to get an idea from you all where you like to hang out on the internet, what you want to knit, which of my patterns from the last year were your favorites. It's, I aim to please. I only get to do this amazing thing for work because you all support the work that I do. So it makes sense that I would be polling you or asking you at different points what you want so that I make sure that I'm doing that. One of the things that we found out from the survey is I'm pretty on target. Like what I've been doing resonates with you. It resonates with me. We have found each other, which is awesome. So without further ado, let me give you the results of the Loop Me In 2025 survey. I'll keep this quick and I won't make it too geeky, okay? One thing I asked you all is, where do you hang out the most on the internet? You could say more than one thing. So these numbers are you saying like all the places that you hang out. The big surprise for me was Blue Sky, which is very brand new. My friend who helped me do this survey and myself were surprised by that. I'm very intrigued by Blue Sky because it is it's algorithm free. So there's no kind of like, it's not trying to serve you things it thinks you want to see because then it's going to make money off of you like our other other Meta and YouTube and what have you. So I'll be looking at adding myself to Blue Sky in the future. I can't handle anything else while we're doing Knit for Food. So that's kind of on my radar, but all the rest of this didn't surprise me. Didn't surprise me that hardly anybody's on Twitter. Didn't surprise me that very few of you are on TikTok. Let me know that maybe I don't need to spend as much time doing stuff on Threads as I thought I needed to, etc. Always interesting. Um, in terms of knit-alongs, I kind of wanted to know if you like doing knit-alongs, if you have a place that you like to do knit-alongs, if you like mystery knit-alongs, and overwhelming yes for knit-alongs, kind of a little more even for if you like to do mystery knit-alongs. And I've already known that. I know there's people who adore a mystery knit-along and people who are like, meh, I don't like them at all. They're a little too crazy for me. Um, an interesting one is on the bottom there. I asked you all if you wanted me to do more than one mystery knit-along a year. I thought that was going to be like, yes, please. But no, one a year seems to be fulfilling. So that's great because they are a crap load of work. So I'm happy to do one a year. Oh, whoops. I guess we go back to the beginning. So I gotta, so that's kind of, and then I asked you where you prefer to join in on mystery knit-alongs. And for the most part, people like Ravelry and then Facebook next. And I'm not surprised by that. I also wanted to know if people knew I had a blog. And that was like a 50-50 on even knowing. I asked if you wanted to know more info via blog post. The answer was no. Interestingly, I'll still do blog posts because sometimes when I get an email, like I don't understand the difference between Hoodola and Caltopus, it's so easy for me to send you to that blog post. They become kind of like a repository of information. Then I asked if you got my emails. Most of you said yes. That is not a surprise because the survey went out to an email. And then I asked about the frequency of my emails, and only 2 people thought I send too many emails. I have a feeling the people who really think I send too many emails have already unsubscribed. So that's like not a surprise there. But most of you think the frequency is pretty much good. So I'm not going to send out more emails because they take a bit to write. Club-wise, I asked if you were in clubs before. I just kind of wanted to know a little bit of data from you. And then I asked you an open-ended question. And some of those ended up on this page. I did read all of the answers and I got some really good ideas from you all. A fair number of people for Lola's Choice mentioned that maybe socks are not their favorite. And then other people said, I really only want to make socks. Some people were like, could you do it just a sock club? There were lots of ideas, new tools, really fun. In terms of patterns that I released in 2024 that you were faves, not surprised that Hoodola and Caltopus and Larch Peds are up there with favorites. Bublé's Riding High, as well as Bling Bag, which I didn't think people were going to enjoy as much as I liked it. And Bling Bag was definitely a winner. So this is always interesting to me. Like at the end of the year, what did you love? Does it like resonate with what I also loved? A really nice balance of patterns, I think. What do you want to knit? I kind of asked like, baby clothing, sweaters, cardigans, cowls, hooded cowls, etc. An interesting one on this one was that lots of people say they want to knit cardigans and sweaters, and those are my least best selling patterns. Those are my worst selling patterns. So they take the most amount of effort and they sell the least well of all of my patterns. So that's kind of interesting for me to see. I'm confused by it. I'll get over it. Cowls, not surprised by, I love a good cowl, hats, socks. The rest of that made sense to me. And then if you wished I had designed crochet patterns, a resounding no over yes. One person had a great idea that maybe I collaborate with a crochet designer, and I love the idea of that. Finally, I asked about Knit for Food, and if you've ever participated in Knit for Food. More people have not than have. And are you joining us this year? Still more people are not than have. So that lets me know I have a little bit of work to do to tell you about Knit for Food. Fundraisers are they're challenging, right? Because you don't want to become that like yammer, 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 and people don't even hear you anymore. So you know that Knit for Food is near and dear to my heart. It is an action that makes a difference in many people's lives. And I am never going to run a marathon. I am not a runner. Running makes me have to go to the bathroom in 30 seconds, which is why I do not do it. I cannot believe I just told you that. But knitting I can do for 12 hours. Knitting I'm happy to do for more than 12 hours. And being able to take my needles and do good with them and raise money to help fight hunger and food insecurity in the US and abroad, I am all in. And I hope that you all are with me too. So I'm pretty excited. Like whenever I go to the Knit for Food webpage, I never know where we're at. So when I hit this, it is going to refresh, and we'll see how much we have raised up to right now. So we are super close to $80,000 raised. We have over 35 days to go. Many of you, this is the 5th annual Knit for Food. Many of you, this is your 4th annual, your 5th annual. It is like your favorite day of the year. This year, Knit for Food is on April 5th. We will be knitting from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. This year, we have more public meetups registered than ever before. I think we're up to like 43 or 44 public meetups. Let me see if I can get this page to work. I'm not sure. Just give me a sec. I'm going to try and scroll. Yep, I can scroll. So what's different this year with Knit for Food is we have teams, which we've never had before. So if you have a guild or a local yarn shop, that local yarn shop can join as a team. And I believe that we already have, what is that number? I don't have my reading glasses on. 216 teams registered. One of the really cool things about this year is I was looking at stats. My friend Patty Lyons messaged me about stats this morning, and she wanted to know if how we were doing fundraising, like if we've raised more or less, like where we were at. And what's different is this year we added on an extra week to fundraising, so we're like a week ahead of the game. But we have raised, let's see, last year at around this time, we had 313 people signed up to knit, and we had raised $66,000. And as of today, we have 520 people signed up to knit, and we've raised almost $80,000. So clearly, we are ahead of the game right now, and I'm really proud of that. The last few years have shown me that the last week of fundraising and then that last 3 days are the biggest days. In fact, one year, our buddy Gigi signed up to fundraise with us 2 days before the Knitathon, and she was our biggest fundraiser, and she did that in 2 days. I know some of you say that you sign up to fundraise and that nobody donates to your team. Just sign up anyway. We end up sending the Zoom link out to everybody. So on the day of, we do have Zoom programming in the morning and the evening. We say that we would love you to raise $100. You could donate that $100 yourself as your donation to Knit for Food. And then you can knit along with us. Know that you are doing good with your needles, and not worry if you're not getting donations to your team. You could also try to get your local guild or local yarn store or like buddies you knit with at Panera to do it with you. And sometimes just having those people to knit with together is part of what makes it such an extraordinary day. So I don't want to go too much on about it. I will say about teams is if you don't have a team to join, you can just join the Knit for Food team. That's kind of like the first team on the leaderboard, because everybody who doesn't have like a guild or an LYS or a knitting club is joining Team Knit for Food. You can also scroll through, like my friend Andrea's got doing like a knit and chicken. I forget Andrea's name of her team, but she's knitting chickens for Knit for Food. So if you want to knit a chicken with her, you could join that team. There's a lot of fun teams going in there. So you can just kind of join some people and knit with them and raise money with them. and very much looking forward to the day. We'll be hearing from our 4 organizations that we fundraise for, which are World Central Kitchen, Meals on Wheels, No Kid Hungry, and Feeding America. And finally, a very important thing to say is that 100% of the funds that we raise go to those 4 organizations. So we have no overhead. We don't have anybody being paid to do Knit for Food. We are 100% volunteer run. It is an intense and fast and fun 2 months leading up to Knit for Food. And then we all want to get off our computers the next week because it's a lot of computering for the volunteer team. But again, my favorite day of the year. And I hope you can find some way to join us and work on fundraising with us. Now is the time to spread the word. I guess last Friday, I sent 2 to me hard emails. I sent an email to Loose Ends, which is an organization that it kind of unites people who have a project that maybe their grandmother or their mother didn't finish before they passed away, or father, whoever, family member, or somebody in their lives didn't finish, with somebody who wants to finish that project, and they match you up. And then somebody finishes maybe a sweater that a grandmother started for a grandchild, and then that sweater is able to be gifted to the grandchild, which is really beautiful and heartfelt. So I reached out to them to kind of see how we could kind of promote each other or help each other out. And they got right back to me. And Jen and I had an awesome meeting this week and figured out some really cool ways that we can work together, which is so fun. And then I also sent another hard email to a podcast that I love that's called Long Thread Podcast, to be like, hey, can I tell you about Knit for Food on your podcast? And Anne wrote me right back and was like, sure, let's have you on. So just send emails, your favorite yarn company, your favorite LYS that you shop with all the time, your favorite designer. You're their customer. If you reach out to them and do an ask of them, they are constantly sending asks to you to buy yarn, sign up for a Knitalong, do a thing. It's time to kind of flip the tables for you. So if you're fundraising for Knit for Food and you're not loving reaching out to your friends and family, reach out to those people, the places you spend your money, and see if they're willing to sponsor this really incredible effort. That's my little guilt trip right there. A little fundraising technique for you on this side. Terry, I'm not sure. Andrea will chime in and say, it's team knitting on a chicken. Any chicken pattern will do. That is the answer to that. Andrea, I think I just got you a team member for your team. I don't knit chickens. I knit penguins. So, and anybody else notice that he's in the Knit for Food colors also? There's a theme going on right now, friends. I don't have any yarn to show you. I just kind of was showing you yarn as I was showing you my 800 million knitting projects. So the next thing to show you is just a few pictures from our family vacation. So for the last few years, my Max and my daughter Bella and I have been wanting to go to Curacao and check out the island of Curacao, which is in the southern part of the Caribbean chain. It is close-ish to the coast of Venezuela. And we were able to go from Syracuse to Atlanta straight to Curacao. So it was a very easy flight to get there. It's a bigger-ish version of a Caribbean island. So there was a lot going on, a lot of gorgeous beaches. The culture was really interesting there. It was a little different than other Caribbean islands I've been to. We had a great time. Lots of relaxing, lots of reading, lots of listening to books and knitting and just being together and talking. And we did a few tours and trips and learned about things. And I have a few pictures for you. But from this first picture, that's not the first picture I wanted to show you. No, and that's not either. We'll start with that. So there's Bella. We would sometimes go to a beach early in the morning before the sun was too strong and while they were a little quieter. So we went to this really fun beach that had wild pigs. And later in the day, there were lots of people at this beach, but we were pretty good at getting places early to just kind of have them to ourselves. This photo is a good example of what most of my photos from this trip looked like. So we were coated in sunscreen, as one should be when they are in a tropical place with strong sun, and it was very salty. So my phone camera, I would think I'd take an amazing photo. Like I thought this photo was the best photo I'd ever taken in my entire life. But since you can't see when it's sunny out and you have your sunglasses on, you have no idea till you get back inside what you got. And I think my lens had sunscreen on it for half of the trip and then also salt. So that's what you get. This was this pretty cool wormhole that we hiked to. We had a hot hike to a wormhole on like there's, two kind of sides to the island. One is calm and very Caribbean, and one is kind of the rough side. So the rough side was really, really fun. We also went to a beach that is kind of known for its turtles, and we were lucky enough to see a sea turtle. This little guy had a boo-boo on one of his back paws or paddles, legs. Sorry, I don't know my turtle terminology. So he was swimming around pretty close to shore. He was very sweet. I hung out with him for a while. And I loved this photo for the lime green of that shed. And I didn't really notice it until I was looking at this photo, and you could see the reflection of the lime green up in that upper right-hand corner. It was fun to slow down so much that I was noticing tiny details like that. We did walk around Willemstad, which is like the main capital city of Curacao. There were really beautiful murals everywhere. This is just one picture on the left of one of the murals. I got lots more. And then we stumbled across this alleyway that had a crocheted shade canopy that I love. So I took a picture of it so you could kind of get an idea of what the canopy looked like and then of the crochet motif. And of course, as I'm talking to Max about it, as we were walking away from there, I'm like, I'm going to make that for our deck and it's going to be so amazing. And then we're going to have shade on the deck year round. And he was like, uh-huh, honey, beautiful. Finally, one thing I fell in love with on the trip was a lot of people were wearing these really beautiful crocheted and machine knit beach cover-ups. And this girl, I didn't get a full length photo of her, but it was a full length dress. I was like sneak taking pictures of her when she wasn't looking. And I absolutely love the stitches on this. It was so beautiful. I just kept watching it. And so I kind of have a question for you guys. And I want to know if is designing a beach cover up, does that make sense? Or do we not want to knit a thing that is getting like, tropical drinks spilled on it and salt on it and soaking wet? Because that's the reality of like wearing something like that at the beach, right? You're wearing it hard. I kind of want one for myself. Like seeing them, I fell in love with the cover-ups, and I was like, then I was looking at them in stores and I wasn't finding the one that I liked in a store. But the girl who was wearing that, it's like she could be wearing her bathing suit, but she wasn't self-conscious the whole day on the boat, and it was totally breathing because she was covered and like, it left a lot to the imagination, which I appreciate as I age, gotta say. And then you just have your bathing suit on underneath. So that stitch that you saw in that cover up, a version of it is going to be ending up in the first N Club project. So those of you that are in the N Club, you just got a little sneak peek, but I was almost done with the first phase of the N Club project, and I had brought some stitches with me to play around for like the next phase of the project. I'm being as vague as possible. And then I saw that and I turned to Bella and I was like, I got my stitch. And she had seen me messing around with stitches because that was part of what that trip was. And so she was like, you're amazing that you just like saw that and now you're good to go. And then I spent a few mornings while everybody was still sleeping, kind of like figuring out the stitch, and pretty excited about it. And it's fun to have that kind of origin story when I design, like this was this. And I think people are intrigued by a cover up. So maybe in the future that might not be to like Cruise 2026, my Cruise 2026 line. Look for it in Ravelry pattern stores near you or something. That's gonna take a little time. Okay, what do I have for you next? I'm highly distracted. My Spain trip which is in November of 2026, is almost sold out. There are 2 official spots left, and then there are 4 spots that people have signed up for, but they have not paid their deposit. So they're not technically full until those deposits are paid. So if you are somebody who is like waiting to hear back from a friend or waiting to check in to make sure you could get that time off and you really want to go, now is the time to jump on it, because when that trip is full, we will make a waiting list, and sometimes there is movement on waiting lists. But as always, I am honored that you want to travel and adventure with me and look at bathing suit cover-ups, etc. Good times. What else? Okay, I think that's everything except for like, I'm going on an hour here, what I'm like listening to, reading, watching. So let's do that and then say goodnight. So listening and reading, I finished the first book in the Fourth Wing series. It's like the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros, and I am reading the second book, Iron Flame. I'm totally into them. They are intriguing and fun without keeping me awake, which is exactly what I need in a nighttime book. And I will keep working my way through the series. I might take a break and read 1 or 2 other books and then come back to them. And then listening, last live, I told you that my favorite author had a book coming out called Blackwood's Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey. And I listened to that book on vacation, and I cannot recommend a book more highly. Maybe it's just because I'm still a kid and I love a fairy tale, and she very much writes these books that have this like fantastic realism element to them, where you are living in a fairy tale that's also like the storyline very much felt like an old Russian folktale or fairy tale, but it was set in Alaska, and I loved it, and I'm so sad it's over, and I can't wait to read it again one day when I forget the story a little bit. She also wrote another book that I adore that I've read twice called Snow Child, which was in a similar vein, but they're different enough that I highly suggest it. So please do check that out if the way I describe that sounds interesting to you. My book group that I'm in chose a book when I was not there in January. Could you see my face? We have book group on Friday night, and I'm gonna have some opinions, but also be quiet because I didn't choose it. They chose Stephen King's novel 11/22/63, which is an alternate history book. It's not like a scary Stephen King horror book, and it's about basically time travel and if you could go back in time and change something major. And the premise of this book was maybe murdering Lee Harvey Oswald so that JFK wasn't assassinated. And yeah, I don't think it's for me. I've been listening to it, but I just have decided it's a 30-hour book to listen to. I sped it up to 1.25, and I still have 25 hours to listen to. So maybe not for me. But so I switched over, and I'm listening to Deep End by Ali Hazelwood, which is Ali Hazelwood's new book. And I love a good little spicy rom-com. So I'm listening to a spicy rom-com while I build your Lola's Choice kits, which feels just incredibly appropriate and not the Stephen King craziness, which is just not me. I love, if it's for you, enjoy. We don't have to always love the same thing. If you have a question for me and you haven't gotten it answered, now is the time to put it in the chat so I see it when I look over there in a second. So if I talked about something and you have a question, or you have an idea that you want me to kind of expound upon for a second, now is the time to put that in there. Eating, I just haven't been super into cooking lately. I just shove some food in my mouth, but I've been trying to make one thing a week that we can really like eat for a little while. Last week I made a really good Brazilian fish stew where you marinate the fish in like smoked paprika and cumin and garlic and lime, and then it's made with coconut milk and lots of peppers and onions, and that was excellent. I'll give you the link to that below afterwards. And then last night I I really wanted to like take a break from the computer and I really wanted to have a glass of wine. And I was like, okay, if I have a glass of wine, I will make this polenta casserole that I haven't made in years. And it's as good as I remembered it being. And you basically make this like really flavorful polenta that's kind of Tex-Mex spiced with like onion and stuff and garlic in it. And then you put like some tomatoes with green chilies on top and some black beans on top and then lots of spicy cheese. And it's like a good hearty winter yummy thing. It kind of lasts me a very long time. I had some at 1 o'clock and I'm still not quite totally hungry yet. So I'll give you the recipes. Max, when I was telling Max what I was making, he was like, oh, a casserola. And I was like, yeah, a casserola from Marlola. Marlola is my Lola in the kitchen. That's like Martha Stewart and Lola together in the kitchen. Are y'all with me? You with me or against me? Max is against me. He just walked in. He's like, he says I'm canceled now. So any questions? Behind the Dragon's Eyes is a favorite Stephen King book. That sounds fun. Um, Sherry said something like, I guess Patty Lyons had something tonight. I can't coordinate with other people and all of their schedules. I set my live schedules when I finish my last live, so I'm going to be able to tell you when my next live is. The fun thing about my lives is you can always watch them later. So if you are over at Patty's thing and you're here now, hi, welcome. And you can go back and watch the rest afterwards. Robin said she's creatively stimulated after hanging out with you. I'm glad it's creatively, Robin. Oh my God. I did teach you to cook polenta a while back. That was in 2020 when we did virtual Knit Ithaca. And I overate polenta for a year or two there. So that I had like a big polenta break and I was happy to kind of get back to a polenta recipe. The name of the knitting podcast. Oh, it's so good, Angela. It's called The Long Thread. And it is put out by Long Thread Media. And that is a spin-off of a few publications that were under the Interweave umbrella. And when Interweave kind of folded, got sold, something happened crazy with, I don't even know, a few publications went off on their own with some of the editors that used to work at Interweave. And that is now called Long Thread Media. And their podcast is superb. It's great. I always like download one or two and listen to them on the plane. Really love it. Thanks for putting that in there, Andrea. Which color did I choose from my new Caltipus? That is, oh my gourd. Sorry, I had to say it like that. I'm such a geek. I'm so ready to be done and go fold some laundry and do the dishes and get ready to slap labels on Lola's Choice kits in the morning. So y'all, oh, I have to tell you the winner from last week and your prompt for the winner of this live so that you know what comment to leave below once the live is over. My next live is going to be April 2nd, which is right before Knit for Food. So expect me to be talking a bit about Knit for Food, but I'll also talk about the cruise. So pictures of penguins. I'll balance it out for you. I'm sure I'll have a bunch more knits to show you then, like my cruise designs. So April 2nd at 7:30, put that in your calendar now so you don't forget. I'll also put it in an email. And the winner of last week's prompt, I asked you guys all for like interesting ideas for getting the word of Knit for Food out there. And Debbie Stepansky is going to win the other half of the ball. Max wound this ball while we were coming home from Curacao. She's going to win this ball to make her own buble. And she said, when you asked the prompt question, I immediately thought of radio and then I thought of Howard Stern. Because we all think that Lola should be on Howard Stern because we all think that that would be the most amazing thing ever. Because I listened to Howard Stern my whole childhood and he probably is the way that I am potentially. But anyway, wouldn't that be something if he would announce it on his show? He has a huge audience. Y'all reach out to people like that and tell them about Knit for Food. They want positive things to share. We all want positivity. Go for it. So Debbie, reach out to Howard Stern. And now back to earth. What if everyone went back to their local food bank or other local charities and asked if a poster could be hung or a link on their website? So on the Knit for Food page, there is a link to a downloadable flyer. You can print out that flyer either in black or white or color and drop it off at any one of those places, your local library, LYS, Guild, what have you. That flyer is available for you. So Debbie, this ball of yarn is yours. Reach out to me with your address so that I can send it to you. Okay. This week's live, your prize is going to be, and I'll choose one of the commenters from below when it is over, a goodie bag from the cruise. So I made one extra goodie bag, and that is going to be for one of you. It is a pretty darn good goodie bag, and I'll kind of show you everything that was in there in the next live, and you are going to win that goodie bag. And if you could leave below a movie that you think we should all watch for knitting movie night on the boat, we're going to leave all the lights up in our knitting room and watch a movie together. And it has to be a movie that I can download, like purchase from Amazon or YouTube or whatever, so that I have it downloaded on my computer. I was thinking maybe like A Star is Born, but with Chris Christopherson and Barbra Streisand, because that's one of my favorite older movies. I don't know. Fun movie. Give it to me. I mean, it could be like Bridget Jones's Diary. I don't know. What else? It's not going to be the 9-part series of the Stephen King 11/22/63. I can already tell you that right now. That is not going to be what we are watching. I just made Max laugh out loud. So thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you. You're awesome. Couldn't do this without you. Don't leave your comments in the live. Wait till I shut this down. So I am saying good night. I will see you for the next live on April 2nd. Have an awesome month, and I hope you don't have second winter anytime soon.